Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is DK Bhattacharya and we'll be discussing today of lower palolithic tool types and their techniques. Before we go into understanding the tool types and the techniques, we must also remember that certain traditions have been enunciated on the basis of the cluster of types and techniques that is found in one of the stages or the other. And this cluster of names are like Abevilian, Acheulean, and chopper chopping has been given the name Old One depending on Africa. It is also known from the African sites, for instance, in Olduvai Gorge, that before Homo erectus evolved, that is from 2.8 to 2.2 or 2.2 to 1.8 million years, there has been the first Homo which has been named as Homo habilis. And Homo habilis has been making some very crude chopper and chopping tools, which we'll talk of later on. And it was erectus who took on to make some more advanced tools which are called Acheulean, that is they have hand axes and cleavers. So we have two sets of names. One cluster is called chopper chopping or Old One. The other cluster is called Acheulean or hand axe and cleaver. Professor Graham Clark once thought we should be giving them not cultural names but technological names. Since we are going to discuss technique and type, we should also mention that these chopper and chopping tools, and along with flakes also, this cluster is also referred to as type 1 technological cluster. And the same way, hand axes and cleavers are referred to as type 2 technological cluster. So you have a choice, either call it type 2 technological cluster or call it Acheulean tradition. The same way you call it Old One tradition or type 1 technological cluster. One refers to technological clusters, the other refers to a tradition. Either way we are correct. Now let us look at the techniques. Since Homo habilis, which is the earliest of Homo, and it's one of the earliest transformation from the preceding form of Australopithecines, they are hardly capable of doing group hunting. They must have been hunting in a very, very isolated manner and could possibly shape some very crude tools. Now, the shaping of the very crude tools have been done by way of a technique which is called block-on-block technique. A block-on-block technique is one in which you take that stone, drop it on an anvil or a ground. With the help of the weight of the stone, a flake comes out. In contradistinction to this, you have a stone hammer technique where you hold the core in one hand, bring another core as a hammer and put it as an arc, hit it as an arc, and the tangent takes it, the force into this core, and that creates a flake scar or a flake. This has more control. You can give the blow according to your desire of the amount of flake you want to take out. This has very little control. You drop it on the anvil, it can crack the whole core or it can take a suitable flake out. Either way, the earliest of human technological achievement is demonstrated from 2.8 or 2.2 million years to 1.8 million years. The author is believed to be the first member of our genus Homo, and it's called Homo habilis, and this is known only from Africa and nowhere else. The technique is best demonstrated in the form of tools that were made, and these tools are called chopper or chopping tool. A very smooth, suitable size of a pebble is taken, and this pebble is then hit on the ground in this manner, hit on the ground on an anvil in this manner, and a flake comes out. So what you achieve actually is that here is a flat pebble and you have achieved a transverse working border. Good enough to cut. If you have force, with force you hit, you can cut off a branch of a tree or even a leg of an animal or whatever. But the point is, the technique is the earliest of human cultural technique. The technique is taking out just few flakes from the border, and that results into a sharp border which is transverse and not pointed. And this transverse border acts as the first working edge produced by this Homo habilis group and continues in Homo erectus as well. A chopper is a type, therefore, which is a pebble, a medium-sized pebble, sometimes as much as 1 kilogram in weight. These medium-sized pebbles are taken and a lateral border is created by a series of flakes removed from one surface or both the surfaces. When it is removed from both the surfaces, it has been named chopping tool. Unfortunate though, you see, the name refers to a function, but we have nothing to do with function. The name continues, but it has nothing to do with function because a chopper also chops, chopping tool also chops. So we are not to pay attention to the meaning of the term used. The meaning of the term is not there. The definition is completely structural and nothing to do with function. The structure is, it's a medium size to bigger size pebbles in which few flakes have been removed by conchoidal scars, which are by stone hammer technique, or sometimes block on, more often than not, block on block technique, that is hitting the flake or the core on the ground and the fixed anvil, and then you get a kind of a transverse border. Now this is a very beautiful chopping tool which is a medium size. This is a very beautiful chopper which is a single medium size. Both are on flat pebbles, but they can be also on very spherical pebbles. These spherical pebbles are found in Africa. So you have two definite types which can be called as mode 1 of lower Paleolithic, or call it old 1 of lower Paleolithic. So lower Paleolithic has an archaic group of clusters where you have this kind of cores or core made into a tool type. There is another type which is quite common in mode 1. This is called Clactonian flake. If you take a core and try to take out flakes from it, after a certain time, the blow you will give will break the core and not take out a suitable flake. So what has been done, and this is a very genius technique that was evolved in England, you take a flake out by stone hammer technique, then use the scar so produced as a platform and hit on the scar to take another flake out. So you alternately use the scar, and the same scar acts as a platform to take out the next scar. So you create a method by which the entire core can be exhausted and suitable flakes can be produced without cracking the core. This technique is called Clactonian technique. Clactonian flakes, the technique produces flakes, are very massive. They are half a kilo to 1 kilo in size. Big flakes, very big flakes. They have very conchoidal positive bulbar percussion, meaning thereby that they were done by block on block technique. And the most important thing, that they have a flake angle which is larger than 90. The flake angle is the angle produced by the platform and the scar of detachment. You draw a pencil or a line on the positive bulbar percussion, draw a line on the platform and try to see what angle they make. So you find all Clactonian flakes are more than 120 in flake, and that's because that every time you are blowing on the flake scar of the earlier flaking. So because of using the flake scar, the next blow will also have the angle of this, and this will be always obtuse angle. Now this is a very interesting diagnostic marker. So you have flakes which are Clactonian flakes. You have cores which are reduced into chopper or chopping tool. There can be a little progression. At some suitable stage, you can pick up a core depending on its size and shape. Suppose it is circular and your imagination strikes you, then why don't I make it a chopper which will have a round working border along this whole circumference. Then you do what thing? You take a flake out from all along the circumference. You take a flake out from all along the circumference. You take another flake out from all around the circumference. So what you have is a discoidal, a kind of a circular tool with maximum thickness always in the center, and working border is the thinnest part. So these are also modified forms of chopper and chopping tools. You can be also included into so-called mode 1 tool types. So mode 1 tool types is the archaized form of technique and also type. Mode 1 refers to technique, and in terms of type, you have to use the word old 1 tool type. That's the reference of the traditions. Around the time of 1.8 million years, I'm using the time that we have got from Africa, old Gods. 1.8 million years. Teswanja is a site where we have a full skeleton of a Homo erectus. So we know Homo erectus has come, and the tools immediately start changing. You start getting a tool, if you can compare, is so different. The most important part of this tool is that it is bifacial. The entire surface has been worked, and the entire surface has been worked by face. Now here is a core which is not limited to the working border only. Here is a core which has been totally flaked in the entire surface here and entire surface here. So you designate a name to it. It's a type which is monocore, and the core is so flaked on both the surfaces that one end is broader and thicker than the other end, which is narrower and thinner. So we call it working border, working end, and this is the butt end. Some people don't like the functional name, so they give a structural name, the anterior end and the posterior end. So the posterior end is what otherwise is meant as the butt end, B-U-T-T, and the anterior end is what is referred to as the working end. So if a hand axe or a hand axe is a bifacial core tool, a core tool which is extremely well prepared by taking out flakes in a regularized manner. It's not easy. Bifacial working is a very big control of flaking, because once you've taken out flake from here and you start working on the second surface, you run the risk of breaking it. You run the risk of breaking it from the center, because you are hitting it from this surface, both the surfaces, it will break in the center. So it is a kind of a gradation to a higher technological skill and technique per se, by which you have been able to master the technique of not breaking it, but working on both the surfaces in order to give it a thin cross section. Now look at the working border achieved this way. It is such a straight and regular working border. It is such a straight and regular gradation from the thicker end to the smaller end. So it is almost a prototype of today's, let us say, javelin point. It's almost a prototype, but it is 1.8 million years old. So hand axe is a wonderful development of a very controlled flaking technique and skill of technique from 1.8 in Africa, which now we have to call as either Acheulean or mode 2. So mode 2 means it has to have hand axes and cleavers. This refers to the technique, and you call it Acheulean. That refers to a site in South France where it was first described, and that site is called Saint Achille. And in Saint Achille, it is on the river Somme. It's a village, and it was discovered in Saint Achille, and then people started calling it Acheulean. The way if a cloth is worked in Bangalore, you call it Bangalorean, and so on. So the name has come and stuck, though I am referring to Africa and not Saint Achille, because the term has come to be used as a traditional term. Gabriel de Montullet used the word Acheulean as a term to refer to the lower Paleolithic cultural tradition. There is another point which is important. No stone hammer technique can make it so regularized. We are used to stone hammer technique. They always take a flake which is fan shaped, and the apex of the fan is always deepest. The apex of the fan is always deepest. That's the point of impact. This kind of a tool can be produced only when you make cylinder hammer technique. Now, cylinder hammer technique is a technique in which a chiseling effect is done. It's almost like cutting in a potato by a knife. A chiseling effect is done. The point is here, and with the cylinder hammer, you chisel it out without taking the risk of breaking it. But if you give a stone hammer technique, this force cannot be controlled by you. It can possibly break the tip. So this is a very interesting development. We pay to the details of the nitty-gritty of the techniques. You can only do that when you try to make a hand axe yourself. You try to make a hand axe yourself, you will realize, oh, it's not all that easy. It is very important to maintain the gradation. It is very important the working border is straight. It is very important that the thinness is gradual thinning, and so on. And it is done best by what is known as cylinder hammer technique. You must give a precursor a name. The name of a type of a hand axe, which is the first hand axe, which is before these Acheulean hand axes came, are having marks of flake scars which are like ice cream scoops. They're scoops from here, scooped from there. So what happens is that the lateral border is sinuous and not regular like this. Such hand axes, which are very bulky, this is not very bulky, which are very bulky, they're given the name Abbevillean when Gabriel de Montullet worked. He called it Abbevillean. But later on, Abbe Henry Broy said, no, let us call it lower Acheulean. The whole group will be calling Acheulean, and Acheulean have 7 stages. The lowest stage we'll call as Acheulean 1 or lower Acheulean. So the first kind of biface, which is ancestral to this, as a very old biface, is a bulky one, though biface, and has a very sinuous working border. This working border is not straight, and that is done by stone hammer technique, sometimes even by block on block technique. So Here you know this is not block and block technique. Here you know it is cylinder hammer from the scars themselves. So there is a gradation, and the gradation is not 100 years, the gradation of thousands of years. See, try to see, 1.8 is the beginning of hand axe cleaver culture, and these late Acheuleans continue to occur to 600,000, 800,000, 400,000. It goes on. Acheulean is a very monotonous culture for the longest duration in prehistoric cultures. It's the longest duration. So there is a gradual change from one form to the other. Let us talk of another form. Around the same time, a little younger than this, so when cylinder hammer technique has come into use, and another form begins. Now look at this form. This is not pointed like this. This is transverse. And this transverse edge has been produced in a very interesting manner of planning. The scar of detachment of one surface is made to intersect with another scar to give a transverse border. Please pay attention. The working border has not been deliberately prepared. It has been planned by the intersection of two flat scars. So this is a very interesting point of a type which is produced along with these when the cylinder hammer technique has evolved 1.6, 1.4 million years, you start getting this, and this is called a cleaver. Francois both somehow felt that cleaver and hand axe are both in the same category. Let us call it by a name biface, as they call it in French, and biface as we call it in English. So together he said both form one type. This is a subtype. Biface is the type, cleaver is a subtype, hand axe is a subtype. Well, it's a matter of just a theoretical difference, but we must know the technological stages that are involved. How is a cleaver made? If a kind of a side flake is taken, and from there a kind of scar of detachment is already available. You give a sloping scar from another surface. These two scars meet. A transverse border is obtained. It is thin like a modern day axe. Then you start working on the lateral border, the butt end, this end, all along the working is here, which is non-functional. The actual functional edge is this. So a cleaver is a very interesting type in which the non-functional edge shows maximum working and the functional edge is just planned. So this is a development which comes from the middle of Acheulean. I talked about Abbevillean or Lower Acheulean. Then I talked about cylinder hammer technique. Then I'm talking about cleaver as a side flake development technique. Almost all cleavers in India and Africa are in side flake. Europe has very few cleavers. So you have cleaver development here. I must talk about something else. You see, hand axe occurs for such a long time, almost for 1 million years, that it is possible to grade the hand axes into categories. So you can grade the categories. The oldest one you have called as Abbevillean. But in Acheulean also there are three categories. One is called amygdaloid. Amygdaloid is a variety. The term is derived from almond. So it is an almond shaped topic hand axe. You call it amygdaloid. There is another variety which is called ficron in French, Ficron. Ficron is like more or less like a pick. This part is narrowed like a pick and this part is bulbous. So this is another variety of hand axe. Then you have a variety which is called lanceolate. Lanceolate will be a very, very symmetrical form like a lance head. Then you have a variety which is called Mikokia. Mikokia is a beautiful Acheulean hand axe in which the two lateral borders are a little concave here. And the last of all is a wonderful type which defies the definition of a hand axe. This is called ovate. Now what is an ovate? Ovate doesn't have a butt end. Ovate is peculiarly oval in shape and the maximum thickness is in the center. Maximum thickness is center. It more or less compares with what is known as a discus in sports activities. You have a discus almost similar to the discus where you have a maximum thickness in the center and whole of the lateral borders are worked. So it even defies the definition of hand axe. Since we have been talking about the duration of Acheulean, which is really almost as much as 1 million years, even in cleavers you can have varieties. For instance, a cleaver can be entirely made on bifacial flaking, or it can be made on a flake. The entire surface is a flake surface. So you can have a flake cleaver, you can have a bifacial cleaver. A flake cleaver often have two positive bulbs of percussion on the two surfaces, which is called combiva technique. But then you can also have a U buttoned, you can have a pointed button. There is no doubt that when so much labor goes into making a deliberate pointed button, which is not the working end, there must have been hafted. Otherwise, why so much labor is put to make it pointed? A pointed end cannot be held in hand. So we know pointed V-shaped cleaver or pointed butt cleaver must have been hafted, but we can't prove it, because if they have been hafted in organic material which cannot survive. So you have a varieties within cleaver also that is seen in all the 7 stages of Acheulean. Anyway, one thing that one needs to remember is, when the Acheuleans began, that is 1 million years ago, it was ending 1.8, it starts. By about 1 million years, it is not only core tool. They start making flakes also, and they develop a technique which is called level-war technique. Level-war technique is a very interesting technique. Since you've decided that you will make flake tools, you've already taken a decision that it is a wastage of raw material to make a core tool. You take 1 kilogram of stone, you can make 1 tool only. And how much tool working border do you have? You have, say, 4 inches and 4 inches, or 5 inches and 5 inches, 10 inches working border, and half a kilo of stone. And suppose this half a kilo of stone is reduced into flakes, you can have 20 flakes, and each flake will give you 2 to 4 into 20, 80 centimeters of working border. So flake, if you go by efficiency is always counted by this manner in engineering colleges. Work input by work output divided by 100 is efficiency. So the work input is the blows I give, work output is the result I get. So I would always say flake tool types are more efficient than core tool types. Now this is quite clearly understood that one who has decided to make flake tools, then he has realized that wasting on time and wasting of material in core tool is useless. You can make flake tools. Another thing which I have talked about in another module is that it is also connected with the evolution of the wrist and the part of the fingers that evolved from the time of 1.8 million years to about 200,000. It is said there are 27 new motions that were added in Homo erectus to early sapiens. These 27 new motions made one create what is called power grip. Power grip is the way a baby holds a spoon. The power is given by the palm, and the fingers uses a clap. They don't have any function except clap. And this evolves into what is known as precision grip. What is precision grip? The power is no longer used from the palm. The fingers do the work. And this is exactly the way an adult will hold a spoon or a pencil. So this transformation from power grip to precision grip must have occurred somewhere between 800,000 to 120,000 years. Early sapiens have already come. So you start seeing a development of flake tools. So flake tools are efficient because it has more efficiency of work input by work output into 100. It is also more acceptable because 27 new motions have come into the fingers and the wrist bones from the time of early erectus to late early sapiens. So we find slowly by the middle Acheulean, flake tools start increasing. And one of the varieties of flake tool is called level-war technique. A level-war technique proves for the first time that a core was used for reducing them into flake, and the core was of no consequence. Because there is a difference. The difference is like this. Suppose I am a fool and I want to make a flake tool. I have worked a core tool has been made, but the number of flakes that is dropped in the ground, I can use them into flake tools. That is not ultimate use of the raw material. That is convenience of the technique. But level-war technique is a technique where you don't care for the core except as a mother from which flakes have to be produced. So you reduce the entire core into flakes, and you have so many flakes, and you are more efficient because the work input by work output into 100 gives you other efficiency, a higher efficiency ratio. Now this level of flakes involves, the name is from a town which is about 70 kilometers from Paris, and there was a place, and there they had a conference, they gave it a name, level-war technique. People don't like it. Some say don't give it the name of the country, call it prepared core technique. But anyway, the technique is very interesting. The technique is a core is taken, and then you give centrally directed blows on the surface of the core. Decide on a platform by making a pecking order of blowing so that it's no longer convex, it is kind of flattened, and then give a blow on the top. A flake comes out. Now this flake that comes out has the following three characteristics. Number one, it will be median in shape. Number two, it will have more than two scars on its dorsal surface, which do not have its point of impact on it. The point of impact is left in the core from which it has been detached. The flake that has come out, the point of impact of the centrally directed scars are all left in the core. The flake has come from the middle. So such scars which do not have a point of impact, at least two, are called truncated scars. Third is it will have a platform which is deliberately prepared, and this platform is called faceted platform. And number four, the flake angle between the platform and the scar of detachment will be never more than 90. It will be less than 90. So there are four attributes of level of flake, which determines, for the first time, demonstrates that core was totally reduced into flakes and was not conveniently used half flakes, half core. And these four attributes are as follows. They are medium shaped, they have at least two truncated scars on the dorsal surface, they have a faceted platform, and the flake angle is less than or equal to 90 degree. So you have these attributes. We go entirely by attribute analysis. These attributes decide a mental decision of sticking to core but using the flake as convenient byproduct, or reducing the core entirely into flake. So I find that the realization of efficiency of flake tools have already come when the Levallois technique has evolved. This happens around 200,000 or 220,000 years back, about Middle Acheulean time. And by the time it enters into Middle Paleolithic, the main cultural tradition are flakes. And these flakes are more often than not Levallois technique flakes. Obviously, Levallois technique flakes can be then retouched into side scraper, points, and varieties of tool types. So that we'll talk about that in Middle Paleolithic. So Lower Paleolithic, therefore, has to be accepted as having two traditions, Mode 1 and Mode 2. Mode 1 referring to the flake tool and the core tools of chopper and chopping time, and also Clactonian flakes. And Mode 2 refers to the unique development of what is known as biface tradition. You develop these hand axes and cleavers, and hand axes and cleavers stays for a long duration of time. Therefore, they show internal progressive development as well. So you have Mode 1, Mode 2, and Mode 2 is the one in which flakes also keep coming, but we don't call it Mode 3. We'll call it Mode 3 only when you go to Middle Paleolithic. That flakes come in Lower Paleolithic also from Middle Acheulean time has to be accepted as an integral part of Mode 2 development. Thank you.